Are you ready to create a life you crave? Let's spin that doom loop of negativity into an upward success cycle and start living lucky.
Good morning. I'm Jana.
I'm Jason.
And we are living lucky.
You are too.
We're live from a little coffee shop in Tallinn,
Surf
Estonia.
Cafe. That's right.
The Surf Cafe, even though we haven't seen the sea yet.
Come on, baby, surfing safari. I'm gonna take you surfing safari. I don't know if that's I don't think that's an Estonian song, but it's close.
I think it's Beach Boys.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So close.
More California, I think.
Different sea.
At any rate, we're going to talk about becoming our future self today because we attended a Come as Your Future Self party.
Oh, so fun. So fun.
And I just want to say, this was such not only a fun experience, but I feel like it was very practical in helping people move toward their dreams.
It was very telling.
Tell me more.
Well, it was telling the future.
Well, that too. But you could see whose dreams were actually coming true by the conviction.
Oh, yeah.
By the confidence they spoke, and
yeah, it's going.
And by and by the way the passion that came out.
Yeah, when people stood up and actually the people that thought about it and actually had a very clear vision. So when you have a very clear vision and you've articulated it or written it down before and you can speak it freely into the world.
Yes.
Then you can start expressing it more vocally and expressively.
I don't know if expressively is even a word.
It is now. But so when you can get that clear, where you can project it and give it to an audience.
Speak it.
Because
Speak it to other people.
There had to be 150 people in a pretty tight space.
And not only speaking it and projecting it, sharing it, but also dressing as your future self, speaking as your future self, carrying your body and your demeanor and embodying the energy of your future self.
And this is declaring your goals in 1 year. So a lot of times we overestimate what we can do in a year or overestimate what we can do in a week and don't give ourselves the time to get to these goals. And this is making that declaration to a lot of people who are really creating a life and reality around themselves.
We overestimate what we can do in a day. We completely overestimate what we can do in an hour. However, what Jason's saying is if we give ourselves a longer period of time and just do a little bit each day.
And take intentional actions each day, we can get there. Mm-hmm. Once we have made that declaration, once we've put the goal down and we've clearly defined where we're going.
It comes back to where are we now? Where do we want to go?
And what's that gap?
And then what's the gap?
Yes.
The gap.
Which is what this future party was. And it said, have you taken the time to define who your future self is, made that vibrational resonance with it, and can you articulate who that is well to who you are now and the people that are around you now, and can you be that person now so that we can actually experience that person now in today's world. And it was incredible.
It was awesome.
And when you got up there and spoke,
oh my gosh, I ended up grabbing the mic and speaking as my future self.
I think your future self came into the room and grabbed the mic.
I think so too.
Because I was like, what? Look at this.
I mean, I was telling people that I was going to ditch my wheelchair.
That's right.
Go me. I can't wait to be me. My future's fun.
I know.
My future self is awesome.
Look at the ass on your future self.
Right? You've never seen my ass, really.
It's not standing.
What?
Notwithstanding.
I can't wait to come back next year and see all of the dreams that have come to fruition. So when I was meeting people as their future self, first of all, I found that odd to do on the first day of the conference.
Right?
Because then the next day when I saw them, I didn't even recognize some of them. Like, people came as their future self. They came dressed a little differently. Like, this one lady had her makeup on, and then the next day we saw her at the conference, and she came over and she was talking to me like she knew who we were. You know who I'm talking about. And you and I both went back to the hotel and said,
Who was that?
Who was that? Because she looks, in real life, in today's world, she looked completely different than her future self.
So looking back, one thing that I recognized is this is our first year here. Mm-hmm. And the Future Self Party is a recurring party.
I think that should be on the last day.
It might be a party that occurred the next year. So the second year of Supercoach. Or does that make sense? So they had Supercoach, and then the next year they said, why don't we have a Future Self Party on the first day? So we can start defining ourselves. But I see what you're saying. It should be a last day party, but a lot of people are flying out on the last day. So let's do it on the first day. Because people get here early. They're like, let's have a party to welcome everybody, see what we're becoming or what we want our intention is.
I don't even know what tense we're talking in right now.
It gets crazy, right?
At any rate, it reminded me of Joe Dispenza. He has this walk as you are party. Walk as if.
Yeah.
Huge. And it's almost like living as if your dreams and goals have already come to fruition. And it's a very powerful exercise. I suggest everyone at least try it. Even if you don't want to, if you're a little timid to do it out in public, do it at home. Do it at home and just get into almost the stance, the state of your future self. And it's life-changing.
I got goosebumps because the Joe Dispenza meditation, the walking meditation, was a game changer for me, because when we meditate with our eyes closed, that's one thing. So you get the very visual image of what that vivid future looks like. Mm-hmm. But then we sometimes open our eyes and we get into our reality and see the evidence of our current self, right? But when we're walking into our future self and we're doing that future meditation, walk into your future self with our eyes open, we get to create our reality with our eyes open and meditate with our eyes open. And that's a beautiful state to continue to meditate as if we're in our future self with our eyes open and move forward in that state. So we're creating with our eyes open and create that evidence alone.
So Jason, what does your future self look like?
So, good question.
Because I actually grabbed the mic along with probably 10 other people. However, I noticed you were kind of sitting in the back.
So my future self is traveling, dancing, laughing, and I think it's going to be really involved in this television show that we're putting out. And I really love the idea of, I want to travel around the world. I want to experience life. I hope that climbing Mount Kilimanjaro is in our future. Okay. Like, that's something that excites me. The coaching on a big level, it's excited me. I've really enjoyed that. And
with Mind Valley.
With Mind Valley and just in general, I've really enjoyed coaching.
And it because you're a helper. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. You're the shelter helper.
I am, and I've always, since I was 4 years old, I remember helping, and then I remember being kind of pushed away from helping. Like, felt like, hey, you're helping too much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember you saying that.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you're making a mess. Like, get out of my hair. Like, you're in the middle of it, and your help is making a mess. Aww. You know, it's like, because you get in that awkward stage as a child, and it's like people don't want to take time to invest in your learning. So then I went off by myself and kind of, because I was an only child for 7 years.
Help the dog.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a dog. So I went off and kind of learned on my own and learned with friends. But I would come home and I would just be, because I would learn and I would play with the creek, I would build a dam or build a fort, and I would come home and I would just be a muddy mess of a child. I was the Dennis the Menace of the neighborhood.
Ah!
But I would also go help the neighbors. I remember I had a neighbor, Sam McMillan, and I would always go to their house because they had all these tools, and Uncle Gene, who was next door, and just I would always help the neighbors. So I learned a lot from my neighborhood, and then I would come home and I would just be filthy. So
I feel like we're talking about your past self. How does this connect to your future self?
So what happened was I developed this insecurity in the helping, because when I would come home, it would be, oh my gosh, you're such a mess. And then I felt like I had to be cleaned up, and I wasn't helped. Like I had to be corrected.
Oh.
So that was like, don't help here. And so that's where now I've kind of cleaned up a lot of that internal mess.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing that when I slow down, now that I've kind of got that internal mess cleaned up, I love helping.
And you're so good at it.
And
people love getting help from you.
Well, you
make them feel good.
I feel like we all have the ability to help, and everyone wants to help someone else, and we all want to serve, like because that's part of growth. A rising tide lifts all ships, and when we collaborate, we all do better. So if we can just lean into that, it's a beautiful thing. But a lot of times sometimes we want to get ourselves ahead.
That's ego.
Yes. And there's a part of us that just
I know,
says,
because I'm guilty of that a lot.
and like
I can laugh about
like
it,
Zig Ziglar says, we can get wherever we want to when we help other people get to where they want to.
That is true.
So there's a beautiful piece of that where we can dance with our own ego, and we can help other people's egos. So it's not getting rid of the ego. It's just saying, hey, you know what? Let's embrace all of us, and let's embrace everyone, and let's just raise everyone together.
I'm gonna rein you in a little, because I feel like we're not talking about.
So my future self
Thank you.
says, I want to dance with life, and I want to dance with you, and I want to travel. I want to travel the world, showing people that we can have an amazing relationship, have a lot of fun and laughter.
Now say it as your future self.
So I am traveling the world, dancing on every continent.
Yes.
I'm laughing from my belly, and I'm coaching powerfully and helping people realize that they can create the life of their dreams and bend reality.
Oh, and there, my folks.
And I'm living lucky.
As I feel lucky
I am
to
the luckiest guy
experience
in the
all
world.
of those things with you. Tune in a year and see if it's all come true.
It is come
because
true.
it is.
I'm vibrating in that resonance.
Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
If the idea of living lucky appeals to you, visit us at startlivinglucky.com.